Welcome back to the JCPod, partner with Stare Down Sports. Stare Down Greatness. Got a fun one for you today. After some NFL news, of course, which I think we got 2, 3 things to talk about at most, and then one college thing. We're going to do one burning, or I guess it's not even burning, just one question basically about every AFC team heading into the draft. It's not necessarily going to be a draft question. It maybe could be for some teams, but other teams it's going to be other things specific. I'll do it, and then next week we'll talk about the NFC side of it on Wednesday's episode. But I just have a couple of questions for some of these teams and what's going to go on. And then I'm going to end the show with, I guess, just giving out a couple of Masters bets I'm taking. I by no means am telling you guys to follow it or have to take it or anything. Hell, most people probably won't make it to that part of the episode. But if you do, I'll be giving out some of the stuff I'm taking for the Masters just to have a little bit of fun and just some potential winners I think I might have found. But like I said, let's head into the NFL news portion before we start out. NFL-wise, then we're going to head into some... Well, there's one thing I want to talk about college football-wise, and then... I guess, like I said, there's 3 things. Well, this will be very brief. Harbaugh came out and said, shortly after we got done recording the episode yesterday, Harbaugh came out and said the Giants want to keep Lawrence despite him having the trade request, so we'll see if there's going to be some common ground when it comes to figuring out a contract with him, but... This being the first thing they're dealing with in the Harbaugh era, this could set the precedence for some other guys and everything. So, going to be interesting to see how both sides deal with this. Kirk Cousins has seen an opportunity with the Raiders, has a chance to finish strong. And he said, "For me, I got more football behind me than ahead of me." Cousins says, "As a result, I see my time here as a great opportunity to finish strong, to leave a mark, to hopefully send things in the right direction, such that when I'm done playing, I can be proud of not only what I did in my time here in Vegas, but then what the Raiders are still doing." So that's very interesting for him to come out and say it, because does that mean, obviously he's a bit older, and at this point in his career, he's 37 years old, and he said himself, he has less time. It's 37, man. I'm not going to lie. For whatever reason, in my mind, he was still like 34. I guess 35 is more what I thought, but 37 years old, probably going to be turning 38 this year. It makes sense that he doesn't have a lot of years left, but you got to think that, like I said, they're going to release him at the end of the year, so you got to think, especially with the quarterback situation going in the NFL, he at least has one more contract in him, depending on the years, maybe 2 if he signs a couple one-year deals, but I see it potentially as like this, but I thought it was going to be like this year, and then he goes and plays next year for another like 3 or 4 years, but the way he's talking now, maybe this might be the end. I don't think this will be the last year for Kirk Cousins, but him just coming out and saying that was kind of just like, oh. That's something definitely just to keep an eye on, depending how the season goes. Like, if he plays bad again, does he just decide, like, yeah, I'm done? But he played pretty decent last year. So if he plays decent again, is it one of those things where it's like, yeah, maybe I do have a couple more years left. We just saw 44-year-old Phillip Rivers play. He didn't play a full season, obviously, but we saw Tom Brady play at his insane age, but he might be an outlier more than a trendsetter. Regardless, very curious situation on if this is the last year for Kirk Cousins or he has a couple more in the tank. Kevin Stefanski came out and said James Pierce is not at voluntary workouts. I will tell you guys, James Pierce is not here. He said we've been in constant communication with his representative. He's obviously facing 3 felony charges right now, where they're including aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, fleeing and eluding police, and resisting an officer with violence. In addition, with a misdemeanor, stalking charge. So. It's before I get into what I'm going to say, this is what the coach came out and said to add on to it. It's a voluntary program, so it's up to each individual player to make those decisions, Stefanski said. I would also add that we've had great discussions with his peers representation. I don't want to get into the specifics of that yet. So it makes you wonder, is there a reason he's not showing up because of the legal side? Or is it one of those situations where it's like, the Falcons are telling him not to show up? That's the one thing I'm curious about. Like, it could make sense if he's just like, hey, he has a lot going on. He's going to try to get all this settled before he comes and join the team. And like I said, these are voluntary, so they don't necessarily have to show up. But him being a first-year guy, let's be honest, it's because of the situation going on around him. But like I said, the one part of it that I'm curious about is like, is this potentially a situation where he's not showing up, or is it the Falcons saying like, hey, I think we're good. The only reason I kind of say that is because new regime and everything, but you got to think because they spent a first-round pick and traded one to get him, you got to think they're going to want to give the guy a second chance. But we'll have to see just because of the wild stuff that happened with him. The thing, and that does it for the NFL portion, the thing I wanted to end with the college is they're coming out with a pretty big ruling potentially. When it comes to college, the NCAA exploring significant change to its eligibility rule. An NCAA committee will discuss a new age-based standard for athlete eligibility that would grant athletes a full 5 years of eligibility from the time of their 19th birthday or their high school graduation, and there will be no waiver requests, red shirts, or exceptions will be permitted. There's only going to be, I guess, a small group of outliers, which would include maternity leave, military service, or religious missions. This is just very curious situation. I mean, obviously, it's been a big issue in sports with, like, because of COVID and everything, some guys just staying for way longer than they probably should, and because of that, it's messing up the high school process. It's messing up just a lot with sports. It's bringing in a lot of questions. Like, some of these guys are staying too long. We saw it with college basketball. They're trying to bring guys who are in the NBA to come back, play a little bit. It just got really messy. So this is probably better for everybody. I mean, there's going to be very few cases of guys who should be given 6 years anyway. I mean, that's, I guess, medical red shirt. I mean, shit, right before COVID and everything, it's basically like you got a medical red shirt, and then you got a basic red shirt. So basically, you could only play up to 6 years, which I think, based on the rules, you probably would risk losing a year because of that. But I don't know. I think it's probably going to end up being for the better. I'm curious to see if this ends up getting passed, because they've already been trying to, like, really hammer home some stuff this year with that. I mean, I think Trump has come out and tried to get a rule passed as well. I mean, it's a big issue. One of the bigger issues in college sports that needs to get fixed. I mean, the transfer portal is just a whole nother thing in general, too. Don't even get me started on that. I think in college basketball, over half the sport is basically in the transfer portal, which is just, it's not good for the sport, man. You're going to have I was listening to the Scott Van Pelt pod, and shout out to Stanford Steve. I think it was Stanford Steve that said this. It was either him or Scott. There's a kid, I forget the guy's name, but he's going to be playing at his 5th school in 5 years. And it's just like, that's one, not good for the sport, and two, it's just not good for the kid in general, because you know those credits aren't fully transferring and everything. And then what happens if he doesn't make the NBA? There's just a lot going on that is not looking good. So they really do need to get that fixed, I think. Curious to see how this eligibility thing's going to work. I mean, because of COVID, I mean, for me, in my situation, I got redshirted my first year, was going to play my second year, then had my torn labrum issue, so then I got medically redshirted. Then COVID happened, so technically, when I graduated, I only played 2 full years of football, and I could have had another 3, which would have made it a full 7 years in college, but I won't lie to you. Mainly because of the physical stuff, because I just won't lie to you, my body was basically giving out by then, but 7 years of college, man, I ain't gonna lie. Half a decade, whew. I had fun in 4, don't get me wrong, but I don't think I could have done school for another 3 years, so I'm good, man. But hopefully they fix this situation, because, yeah, like, 7 years is just insane. And some of these guys, like, obviously because of the NIL situation, they're going to want to take advantage of it, but some people shouldn't be saying being able to play a sport for 7 years in college, especially because at that point some of these guys are going to be 25, 26 playing against 18-year-olds. Yeah. Definitely kind of crazy for sure, but that does it for that part. We're going to now go to basically one question for every team. I'm going to spend maybe like a minute or two on these. Like, it's not going to be anything like super long. Like, it's not going to be like a 45-minute deep dive into it. It's basically just like quick questions, because like I said, we're going to come back to this in probably, like, if you want to go day-wise, maybe like 60, 65 days, something like that. We're probably going to come back to this before we head into, like, the breakdown. This is either going to be in between, or before the breakdowns, or in between the breakdowns, then me giving out the futures I'm going to be taking for the season and everything. Probably going to be placed into there. So, like I said, one question for every team heading into next season before the draft. So we'll start with the AFC East. Miami Dolphins. How's the first year going to go in the Hafley era? I was going to say the Hafley and Malik Willis era, but Hafley era, Malik... Either way, how's it going to go the first year in the Hafley era? This question is probably going to end up being the same thing when we head into the second portion of this, but I'm just curious how it's going to go for the Dolphins. I mean, they got rid of a lot of guys. The Mike McDaniels experiment's basically completely over. He seems like it's going to be a fresh new state. They brought in some Packers guys already. The Packers GM is also there as well. So this is going to be an interesting partnership. It's just, can you win in Miami? It's been 25 years since I think they've made the playoffs or won a playoff game, one of those two, I believe. And with their division getting better around them, it's going to be tough. But maybe Malik Willis is the answer for him. We'll have to see. And obviously it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the draft because they do have a lot of needs. As for the Patriots, heading into year 2 of the Drake May and Mike Vrabel era, I don't really have any questions about the defense. I think they're going to get that figured out. I mean, their defense was fine in the Super Bowl. They held up there, and it was the offense that was more of the issue. So my question is, how are they going to address the issues of offensive line and wide receiver? Kind of a dual question, but that's one where, like, there's rumors about A.J. Brown. Stephon Diggs is gone. I don't think he's going to be coming back from the sounds of it, potentially. This might be just a one and done. Maybe he comes back on a restructured deal, but doesn't seem likely. So it's going to be curious to see if they do something with the A.J. Brown trade. Do they draft another wide receiver? They also need to get some help at offensive line. I think they're mocked to get an offensive lineman, I believe. So that's going to be interesting because wide receiver and offensive line are definitely their two biggest needs. They're fine at running back. They're fine at quarterback. Trevion Henderson, I'm curious how he's going to do it in the second year as well. He had some rookie struggles a little bit towards the end, but overall, I mean, this team was the runner-up in the Super Bowl, and they ran into a force that seemed like they were going to win no matter who they played. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how they address the offensive line, and I'm very curious to see what they do at wide receiver. I will say in general, too, I know we'll never get the answer to this question, but I also want to know, how hurt was Drake May going into that Super Bowl? Because it seems like he was a little bit more hurt than they were letting on. For the Buffalo Bills, was getting rid of Sean McDermott the right move? That's my question heading into this offseason. Sorry, I thought that might have been, thought that might have been massive news, but I think it was just something else. I might have misread that. Yeah. The Bills, though, my question for them was moving on from Sean McDermott the right move. I mean, obviously they needed some type. It seems like, I won't lie, it seemed like they needed some type of change. They were starting to hit their head against the wall at a certain point. You can't get rid of Josh Allen. Obviously, they're not going to get rid of Brandon Beane. So then it turns to just like, well, the next most likely thing is Sean McDermott because they didn't want to lose Joe Brady as well. So let's see if Joe Brady was the right hire for the Bills. I think it'll work out fine, but they are making some decent trades as well. They do need to upgrade the defense a little bit, but yeah, the Patriots stole the division from them last year, so it's curious to see if, hey, maybe moving to Joe Brady, will that help, or is Mike Vrabel being in New England just the end of the AFC East and the evil empire is back? For the Jets, heading into the draft, do they draft a quarterback this year or next year? That's basically my big question heading into the draft for them. The rumored potentially to get Ty Simpson into them. I believe it's them, Cleveland, which maybe it's just them in Arizona. I think Cleveland I might have misthinking about. But for the Jets, do they take a quarterback this year in Ty Simpson, or are they just trying to be somewhat competitive a little bit this year? Maybe not too competitive from the sounds of it, but building a culture again heading into next season and then draft a quarterback next year. They're going to draft a quarterback either this year or next year. Which year is it going to be? Now heading into the AFC North, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is Aaron Rodgers their quarterback? This might be the same thing we do heading into the offseason as well, seeing how long it takes for him to answer that. But is Aaron Rodgers coming back this year, or is this year going to be the first year of the Mike McCarthy rebuild era? They brought in Mike McCarthy. I don't know if he's going to be there for a long term, obviously, because he's a little bit older, but he's definitely, I don't know if he's going to be a full-on bridge coach, but it is a situation where you kind of look at that and it's like, all right, is Mike, obviously he's there to also help groom a quarterback, so it's like, is that going to be this year with like Will Howard or somebody they may be taking the draft, or is it going to be like, hey, we're going to try out Aaron Rodgers for this final year, whatever happens, and then we're going to draft the quarterback next year, and what's supposed to be a very, very big quarterback draft class, but I'm not going to lie, I wish I remember who it was I heard say this, but they talked about it, it's like, every year it comes out and it's like, this is going to be the biggest quarterback draft class or whatever, and then it ends up becoming like a meh. And they brought up how this upcoming season, like the draft this year is supposed to be pretty decent with quarterback, and then it didn't turn out too great. So they brought up that point, and I did find it very interesting. So it's like, I mean, they aren't too wrong. There was a lot of like Drew Aller got really hyped up. I mean, it's more of the guys than just him, but he's the first name that comes to mind. So yeah, and also that's one of those things like, do the Steelers maybe draft a quarterback this year, and then not even worry about it next year? Maybe they find a guy they like. For the Baltimore Ravens, can Lamar Jackson get over the hump? They've had their playoff struggles. This is a team that's really, really good. I mean, there's not too many questions I have for them. It's just basically, I mean, just in general, it's like, what are they going to look like now with Jesse Minter there as head coach? But that's a question I really don't have too many answers to. So I'm just curious, is this going to be the year where we change the coach and now it's going to be go time for Lamar, or is it more of the same with the Ravens? I mean, they've really struggled last season. So it's curious to see how they bounce back next year. I guess this upcoming season. That's the best way to put it. For the Bengals, heading into the draft, I guess my question is, I don't even lie to you. I don't. This is one I think like the 3 teams I didn't have a question written down for. That I was just gonna come like by the time I got to them on air, I was gonna hope I have something. I really don't. I guess just because I have so many questions for the Bengals. I guess just the one we'll pick before the draft is, what do they do to address? You know what? We'll use this one. What do they do to address the defense? I was going to save this for after the draft, but maybe we'll just use it for both. What in the hell are they going to do to address that defense? Because, boy, hot buns. That defense was ass. They need to fix that thing. As for the Cleveland Browns, my question going into the draft is, who do they take at wide receiver? Because it sounds like they're going to end up drafting one of those wide receivers at the top position. And it seems like... And then after the draft, I mean, this could also go, I guess, before the draft too. Shador or Deshaun Watson, who's going to end up being the starting quarterback? Sounds like it's pretty much going to be between those two, but... Yeah, like I said, we'll save that for after the draft because I'm curious to see who the Browns end up drafting. It sounds like they're going to draft a wide receiver. Curious which wide receiver they end up taking. And then, I mean, they got a lot of holes to fill as well on that roster. So that is for AFC North. Let's head into the AFC South. For the Colts, this is a layup. It's just Chris Ballard's last season. There's a lot. It is getting hot in the kitchen for Chris Ballard. If the Colts have another collapse again, you got to think he might be gone. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Shane Steichen. Maybe they'll keep Shane Steichen around. But it's usually when you hire or fire a GM, you want to have the GM pick the head coach. But maybe Shane Steichen's such a good enough head coach that they want to bring in a different GM. But that's basically my question is this Ballard's last season, or is this a year, in year 10, that he figures it out? For the Texans, my big question is going for them. Can they figure out this offensive line issue? I mean, their offensive line, you want to talk about some ass. Speaking of the Cleveland Browns. That Texans offensive line, stinky. They did not play very good football last year. And they have a lot of questions to answer themselves. And the Texans in general, they got the defense figured out. Offensively, they just were horrible. And I mean, it wasn't just the offensive line. C.J. Stroud wasn't really good either. They didn't really have too much of a run game. Joe Mixon, his situation was insane, but he's probably gone from the team, it sounds like. So what are they going to do to address the offensive line to help fix that offense? As for the Jaguars, my question heading into the draft is, what do they feel like... I'm just curious who they're going to end up drafting in general. To me, it's like, what position do they feel like they need the most fixing in hole-wise? Because, I mean, defensively, they played pretty solid last year. Offensively, I think they're pretty much set offensively damn near. I mean, obviously, you have positions you can improve on, but they had a pretty good offense last year. It's going to be year 2 with Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen. So you got to think they're only going to improve from there. So I'm curious to see where they end up drafting at to be like, hey, this is the position I feel like we need to fix the most. And then for the Tennessee Titans, do they draft Jeremiah Love? This is a team that a lot of people are mocking to get Jeremiah Love. This is a team also that has a lot of holes to fill. I'm very curious if they end up taking Jeremiah Love. I mean, obviously he's one of the best players. Everyone's saying he's not going to make it out of the top 10 at this point. So do they pull the trigger and draft a generational running back, or do they look somewhere else and try to fill some other position? Final division is going to be the AFC West. For the Chiefs, probably going to be the same question. You know what? We'll save the... You'll hear this one again about what's going to do. Is Mahomes ready for week 1? But we'll save that one for after. For the draft, who do the Chiefs take at their draft pick? There's some people saying they might have taken Jeremiah Love, but some don't think he'll make it there. Now that they have Kenneth Walker, do they go wide receiver? Do they go tackle? Do they go guard? I mean, I'm curious. They might go tackle because they do need some offensive line help, but I'm just curious where the Chiefs end up drafting in their position. For the Chargers, very similar question. Who do they draft? But also just, What do they look like next year? Because this was a team that just got destroyed by injuries on the offensive line. And now with some of the pieces they've brought in and picked up, also with assuming Rashawn Slater comes back healthy and Joe Alt comes back healthy, two of the best tackles in the NFL. I mean, this is a team that has a lot of weapons. Marion Hampton, Justin Herbert only seems to be getting better. This is a team that really could do something, but they were 11-6 last year. They could be even better, which is crazy to think about, but we'll just have to see how the offensive line health comes. That's basically my question. How's their offensive line going to be? We'll rephrase it basically. How's their offensive line health-wise going into the draft, and do they address that, or do they feel like they need to address some other positions like defense? For the Denver Broncos, this was the other team I'll admit I really didn't. I mean, they were just so damn good last year, so I guess just like my question would be, how do you improve yourself going into next season? Like, because they're obviously going to have one of the harder schedules now. Bo Nix is coming off the ankle injury. Sean Payton gave up play calling duties to Davis Webb. So, what is that going to look like, too? So, basically, just like, how are you going to improve yourselves after having a 14-3 year where you just came up short to the Patriots, who just, I mean, I don't know if the Broncos, with Jarrett Stidham in there, I don't think the Broncos would have been able to give the Seahawks a game. Even with Bo Nix, I don't know. He plays some really, really weird games where he can play so bad, but then just be really, really good for 4 drives in, like, the fourth quarter, and it's like, Broncos won. What the fuck? So, when it comes to the Broncos, how do you improve yourself after going 14-3, and can you continue the dominance, or do you slip up and maybe let somebody like the Chiefs or the Chargers come back? My final question for the Raiders, we assume they're going to draft Mendoza number 1 overall. Who starts week 1 for the Raiders? Will it actually be Kirk Cousins, or will Mendoza be ready enough to they throw him at quarterback week 1? It's going to, I mean, with all the talk going around, like, I mean, Kubiak basically kind of told us that, like, hey, I don't like starting rookies right away. If I could, I'd have him sit. And he's the head coach now, so he can make that decision. So, Tom Brady's there. He sat and thought it was not too bad. So, I have some, like, I won't lie to you. I'm really, really leaning towards, like, Kirk Cousins might be starting for the Las Vegas Raiders week 1. And that might be an actual reality. So, that's my one questions for the AFC. Like I said, next week on Wednesday, we will go over the NFC. And very quickly, very briefly to end it, I just want to talk a little bit of Masters real quick. Should be a really, really fun tournament. I'm basically betting on 2 guys. I'm taking Bryson DeChambeau because he's been playing pretty decent. As of late, he just struggles. My big thing I'm scared about is he struggles in the final round. Another guy I'm taking is Justin Rose. He's played pretty... you could just say he's played really good in the Masters because he's been the bridesmaid, but not the brides a couple times. So, and it feels like this might be one of his last 2 chances to like make a real push at it. So I just sprinkled on those 2 guys. Got some top 10, some top 20 stuff I'm playing with just to have fun with. I guess, you know what, I'll give out my favorite one of those as we're heading out of here. And I guess, you know what, we'll just come with this with the outro. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for support. Really do appreciate it. I'll be back in this feed next week for some more NFL news. And like I said, on Wednesday we'll do the one question for each NFC team heading into the draft. And yeah, like I said, my favorite I think I took is a little 3-legger. It's, I have 2 of them. Maybe I'll give out the other one. We'll give out this one. It's plus 630. It's Scotty Scheffler, top 20. Justin Rose, top 20. Hideki Matsuyama, top 20. And like I said, that's plus 630. Have a little 30 to win 219. Or I guess, you know what, that's with a... It's plus 420, excuse me. I have a 50% boost on it. The boost is plus 620. I have a little 30 to win 200 on it. Just a little fun one to have fun with it. I don't recommend taking it. That's just what I have. I just want to give it out because if it hits, it'll look awesome. If not, hey, I have a golf background. I might as well give out a golf bet every now and then. Like I said, thank you all for watching. Really do appreciate it. I'll be back in this feed on Tuesday to go over more NFL news. And basically get ready for the draft because, yeah, after next week, we're a week away from the NFL draft.